Hey, what's going on YouTube? Eve Maxwell Perez here. This is my second video on the art of jumping a motocross bike. Yeah. Alright, pretty excited. I got some good feedback on the first one and actually some questions. And you know what? Actually, I was cleaning my hard drive last night, found this piece of footage, about 6 months old, and actually demonstrating exactly what I was teaching in the first video, and so I'm going to go over that. In this particular instance, it's basically the same. Let's do this, a little bit of a recap for the first video, which is part 1. If you guys haven't seen it, please click here. There you go. How to jump on a motocross bike. Basically, what I'm saying in the first one is you want to have your weight, your body weight, in front of the foot peg. And why do we want that? We want that. It's basically pure physics. When you have your body weight in the front part of in front of the pivot point, when you're launched in the air, what happens is your body weight is actually pulling the bike, as opposed to the other way around. If your weight is behind the pivot point, which is the foot peg, if your body weight is more or less behind the foot peg, you're basically going to be pulled by the bike. Alright, so let me demonstrate what I'm trying to teach you guys in this kind of funny example, but it works. Let's say you have someone riding a bicycle. You know, you see them sometimes at the beach. You have like a father, and he's pulling some sort of small trailer, and with his child in the back, right? So now think about the hitch as the pivot point, which for us motocross guys is going to be the foot peg, and see the guy in the front, the father, as if you're leaning forward, right? In other words, putting your weight in the front, and think about the guy in the back in the small trailer as when you put your weight behind the foot peg. So now what happens if this father pulling his child would take off? Okay, he is heavier than his son, and he's heavier than the equipment in the back. So more or less, when they're going to take off, he's going to lead everything behind him. In this case, it's a small trailer with the son, because it's just pure physics. They're being projected in the air, and he's heavier, so by default, he's going to pull everything behind him, everything that he's carrying. If you were to put two people, let's say two adults, okay, two full-size adults in the same small trailer, let's say that it was feasible somehow, and then you would send these, this combination. Now you have a father, and in the back you have two full-grown men. Obviously, they're way heavier than him. Now, what happens is the people in the back they're gonna actually lead this thing by way of physics, by way of weight. So if they were to take off, and one of the guys were to kind of jerk his body and move to the side, or both of them move to the side, because the weight is in the back behind the pivot point, and they would take off, then it would make them go sideways, and the guy in the front would have absolutely no control, and it would crash. Or if they were to hit a rock or a lip at the top of a jump, then they would go sideways. They would basically, the people in the back would control the event, quote unquote, and obviously that's the worst. You never want to do that. You want to control your motorcycle. So in the case of motocross jumping, basically the same way. You want to have your weight in front of the pivot point, in front of the foot peg, so that when you take off in the air, you're actually pulling the motorcycle with you. Alright, so let's look at this piece of footage I found. It's actually a combination of GoPro, POV, and then my buddy on the side of the track doing a really low angle. So you can see right now, I'm approaching the face of this jump. This is the GoPro, of course. And you see absolutely no fender whatsoever, which means my head is really, really far forward. So let's do that a little slowly. You see that as I'm going now, I'm taking off the jump. You can see how much forward my head, is above the number plate. And now check this out. You can really see my complete body is in front of the foot peg. Because that happens I control the motorcycle, my weight. Again, it's really a matter of physics. My weight is controlling the motorcycle. And so whatever would happen, let's say I was to go sideways, which I kind of am a little bit here, absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever, because I'm controlling the bike. My weight is in the front, my weight is pulling the bike, and there you go, perfect landing. So, all right, guys, check this out. Practice slowly. Find yourself a very, very small jump, a very shallow angle. Don't do anything with a steep jump. And you know what? Take a very small jump and like barely get off the ground. I'll tell you why. Because let's say you were, because here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to get used to the feeling of endoing, if you will. I don't really like that term because I don't want you guys to think you're endoing. You're really not. But when you start practicing that technique, you kind of feel like you are. And you know what? You probably will, because you're not used to controlling and adjusting your body weight. You may have a tendency to overdo it, which is fine. But my point is, if you just literally took off the air only 3-4 inches off the ground, what's going to happen if you're endoing? Nothing. Just ride it off. Just make sure you're nice and straight. Don't panic. But the main thing is I want you guys to get used to a little bit the feeling of endoing. Not really so much endoing, just the feeling that, oh wow, I never felt like that before. Well, yeah, because you always jumped and your body weight was kind of forward, backwards, and it's kind of a weird feeling when you're used to doing it the right way. But what I'm trying to say is when you get used to riding like that, you're never going to go back, So, but it takes time, it takes time to do it, that it becomes second nature. And you're going to realize too is the steeper the jump, the more precise you have to be with your body positioning in terms of weight, So in other words, these super steep supercross faces, man, you got to be like a surgeon, like super precise, Chad Reed style, Kevin Windham and James Stewart. You just gotta, you just move just a little bit forward, we're talking about, quarter of an inch, and it makes a difference. So that's why, one of the reasons why I want you guys to start on a jump that's actually not steep, because it's a little bit like surfing. When you learn how to surf, obviously, you don't really want to come to California because the waves in LA, they crash really quickly. You have no time to get up, and so you want to go to Hawaii, don't you? Yeah, because the waves, they take forever to they take forever to break. So which means when you're a beginner, you have your time to get on the board. Same thing when you jump. When the face is not really steep, gives you more time to, you don't have to be so precise, is what I'm trying to say, with your body placement. And, I can't overstate the importance of the following statement, okay? And here it is. In motocross jumping, okay, everything happens on the face, okay? What does that mean? Everything happens on the face of a jump. That means if you want to do like a massive whip, guess what? It happens on the face. You got to do the work on the face. If you want to do massive scrub, it's on the face that you're going to do it. If you're going to go sideways and crash, it's also going to happen on the face. So in other words, everything you do on the face of the jump will determine what happens when you're launched. And so now taking this statement, that everything happens on the face. Well, here, we're not trying to do a major whip. We're not trying to scrub. We're just trying to jump and control. But guess what? Because everything happens on the face, jumping and control also happens on the face. That's right. So therefore, that's when you have to position your body. Positioning your body on the face will determine what happens after takeoff. And in the case of learning how to jump, beginner style, like these tutorials, it's making sure your body weight is slightly forward in front of the foot peg, and you know what? When you start jumping like that, you're gonna feel amazing, and you're just gonna be like, man, that's cool. All right, guys, be cool.